to talk about the subject of neuroplasticity. So if you guys could catch these here. Nice catch. And just, for now, consider the questions that are on them and just hang on to them. And I'll talk about it at the end. So, I'm a psychology major at Charter Oak State College, and I've been practicing neuroplasticity techniques for about a year and a half. I'm going to focus on some major areas of neuroplasticity. I don't have time to do all of them, but I'm going to focus on a few, and I'm going to give you guys a brief history of the subject of neuroplasticity and the definition. So, for years, people thought, and in the scientific world, psychologists thought that the brain was fixed, meaning that it could not develop new growth into adulthood. Luckily, that's not true. We can. So, you're only 18, but don't worry, when you're an adult, you'll still be able to think in new ways. So, the definition, according to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary of neuroplasticity, is the capacity of neurons and neural networks in the brain to change their connections and behavior in response to new information, sensory stimulation, or dysfunction. So what does that mean exactly? Basically, it means that if you have no knowledge of a certain area, say for example, you don't have any idea of the inner parts or the inner workings of an automobile, and you want to learn the engine, the pistons, everything aspect of it, you start to slowly study the car and different elements of it. And through that studying, all of a sudden your brain grows neurons. And the neurons have synapses at the end that connect to other neurons, and then they communicate to each other. And the more you study, the deeper the neural pathways become. So the stronger the information becomes in your brain. The less you study, the weaker they become. So that's basically, in a nutshell, the concept of neuroplasticity. And as far as the brain itself, philosophers have been studying it for hundreds of years, but really it's been more recent that neuroscientists and psychologists have been studying it, especially neuroscientists, because William James was a philosopher and a psychologist, and he was the first person to actually develop a theory of neuroplasticity, and that was about 120 years ago. The neuroscientist Paul Bach-y-Rita in the late 1960s was the first one to apply a modern application of neuroplasticity. And this is actually pretty interesting. His dad had a stroke, and he knew of neuroplasticity, but he wanted to see if he could help his dad. And since he knew that neuroplasticity meant that the brain has the ability to reorganize, he thought that the healthy areas of his dad's brain could take over for the damaged areas of the brain and perform those functions of the damaged areas. And it actually worked. He developed exercises and techniques, and his dad's speech and physical disabilities, especially balance, improved greatly. That led to the discovery of new techniques, neuroplasticity techniques, and new areas that were of mental impairment, physical impairment that can be improved. Michael Merzenich, a neuroscientist also, developed software, some of the first software to overcome learning disabilities with people. And one such program that was developed is called the NBAC test, the dual NBAC test. This is really interesting because according to the psychologist and neuroscientist John Joanides, not exactly sure how to pronounce it, that he did multiple studies with other scientists that revealed the NBAC test improved working memory greatly. Over the course of 20 days, if you practice for 20 minutes a day, he found that it greatly improved general intelligence and even the ability to easily maintain information when distracted, which, I mean, everyone talks about multitasking. Can you multitask? This test, when done for 20 minutes a day over the course of 20 days, greatly improved the general intelligence, IQ. It's pretty amazing. But he found that it lasted for up to 3 months. So after the person did it for 20 days, then it lasted for 3 months if they didn't do any more work around it or practice. Another example of multiple neuroplasticity tests can be found on the popular Luminosity website, and that has memory, speed, problem solving, and attention tests that you can pay for and you subscribe to, and you can do them for a while. There's also a trial run. Serious mental disorders can also greatly benefit from neuroplasticity. Namely, in the American Journal of Psychology in 2009, a study was published in which schizophrenic patients, those especially schizophrenic patients that had severe severe verbal impairment in their memory, they found that using neuroplasticity techniques, they found that this showed a great improvement of global cognition, verbal working memory, and verbal learning and memory. Mood enhancement and pain reduction is also another area that was greatly improved, that's been found to greatly improve. Sharon Bergley, a psychologist, she wrote the book Change Your Brain. And in this book, they've done studies that she talks about. She's done studies on Buddhist monks that have basically dedicated a lifetime to meditation and spiritual enlightenment. And they found that neuroscientists that did tests on them found that meditation has incredible benefits. Through focus of meditation, it can increase gray matter, which is hugely important in central nervous system function. So that is pretty amazing. Meditative properties have many benefits, such as a decrease in depression, decreased anxiety. They improve overall wellness, and these are just some of the major broad benefits. I will begin to wrap up my speech now, so all you can practice for the rest of the night neuroplasticity techniques. Ready? Just kidding. So, in conclusion, the brain is not fixed. That's good news. It can be trained to compensate for physical and mental damage of many kinds. Disorders range from stroke to schizophrenia to a bad mood, something less severe. So if each one of you could slowly, or if you could throw the ball back to me, or if you could think about an example perhaps, or what do you think of as far as how that may relate to you, what's on the wiffle ball?
I know somebody with schizophrenia.
Okay, so. Good call. All right. Matt, anything on there that relates to you in your life?
I know many people who suffer from depression and anxiety.
Excellent. Thanks. Who is the third one? Can you think of a way that it relates to you?
I would love to improve my memory and be smarter.
Great.
Definitely.
All right. So the NBAC test, for example, you can download that for $1 on your smartphone. And that has amazing properties. So